Evening, good morning and welcome to the next vlog thing we're going to do. Tom's going to run us through his first match first.
Am I going straight into it, pal?
Straight into it.
Well, it would seem rude not to start with a great match win, wouldn't it? I would say.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Start on high.
I think so, start on a high. So, but actually no, I'm not going to do that, Jord. I'm going to start with a lesson learned day. Where I learned a lot, which I think hopefully you guys will find.
Leads into the win.
Yes. So, about a month ago, I went to the Glebe on a Maven Match Fish qualifier, and I drew on Ugly's pool, which is totally inappropriate for me. There's one called Pretty's pool, which is where
Golden Reel qualifier.
Was it a golden reel?
That's why I didn't fish.
Because you'd already qualified.
I already qualified.
You had.
I have actually.
So yeah, it was a golden reel qualifier. At the Glebe, on Ugly's, I drew peg 63 from memory. Now, it was a bright hot day. It was sunny, the sun was shining, there were the odd fish on the surface, and I actually had a bit of luck because, as you said, you weren't fishing and you sat with me all day.
I did.
Now,
in the sun. Sunburn.
What I want to talk about really is that day was the day when mugging carp and catching carp on wagglers and off the surface was the most important skill to have. Now, as you guys know, follow my career, I'm not an out-and-out commercial angler. I fish commercials for about 3 months a year quite intensely. And then the rest of the year I'm spent on rivers, canals, feeder fishing, all different kinds of things. I just love variety in fishing. So I'm not mega experienced in mugging fish. Luckily, this man is. Having spent a lot of time practicing it at Laugh and a lot of time doing it, haven't you, Pam?
A lot of qualifiers I've done it in the past now.
So, it was just a brilliant learning day for me. I learned so much about mugging, about pellet waggler fishing, when it's in a mode of the fish not feeding, when basically all you're trying to do is get one to take your bait. And that's perhaps where a little bit of the confusion or my misunderstanding in the past came from. Because I've always thought, when you're fishing for a weight, trying to win a qualifier, I want to get the fish feeding, so
You will give them the bait, won't
you? Tom Scholey of old would blast 8mm pellets across on a positive pellet waggler line, fishing the bait, chuck past the bait to start with, pull it back into the bait, fish like that. Likewise on the pole, I'd be blasting pellets shallow, trying to flick a rig out, fish wasn't really a thing for me. I thought, to win, you've got to get fish going. Jordan said to me before the start, look, don't feed anything, just try and mug them. I looked at it and thought, what is he on about? This can't be right. But you know what? It was dead right. And I had a lovely match. I actually mugged, I think it was 10 or 11 fish, 10 fish, something like that. And I had a couple down the edge.
You had some on a waggler as well.
Yeah, some on a waggler mugging, some chucking out. And I mean, the key things I learned, I'll just give you a little summary.
Top 3 mugging tips.
Yes, well, you're the guy who gave me most of these, so you can expand on them, which is perfect.
Okay.
The first one is the right float, isn't it? I think that's the one.
Yeah.
So
you need a float heavy enough to be able to flick where you want to flick, but also light enough not to spook them. So it all depends on the conditions, really. Obviously, if it's flat calm, you can get away with a lighter float. But obviously, if it's windy, you need a heavier float to make sure you're really accurate and really pay attention to where you're flicking at the fish. Make sure you're actually aiming in front of the fish to begin with and not at the tail end. I think that was really important. Tom, on many occasions on this day, was flicking at the fish and he was deciding to try and flick at the tail, expecting the tail to bite on the old pellet.
Now, this wasn't deliberate, guys. It was quite the skill to master this flicking of the rig. And as Jordan says, the accuracy did leave something to be desired at times. Yeah. But no, it was a brilliant day. Really interesting. Flicking the rigs, that would be point one. I definitely said the right float. The second point, which is something I never really considered, is looking at shadows and where the sun is in relation to where you try and mug the fish. So, say for example, you've got the sun to your left shoulder and it's casting a shadow slightly to the right of the pole. You're best off waiting for the fish, if they're coming the other way, to go past where the shadow of the pole would be, so you're flicking the other way at them, so there's no shadow.
Because remember, you don't have to chase them to where they are exactly, because they swim. So if they're swimming, if they're going to come past you, they're going to come past you. Just wait until they're the right side of the shadow and you'll be able to catch them without spooking them off. Yeah,
that was mega, really. And I think the last mugging tip is going to go on to the waggler side of it, and it's the right floats. And I will, by the way, put on here as a little cutaway pictures of the floats that we both use, because I've sort of learned off Jordan which ones to use. The mugging ones is the obviously cookies from Mick Wilkinson, which are brilliant, dumpy, heavy little float, superb. And these wagglers, have a look at these. These are TN wagglers with Crusoe ball attachments, which are absolutely perfect for mugging fish on the waggler. And this was important. A light waggler, Jord, wasn't it? That just tickles the water as it goes in, makes a plop. So, yeah, fascinating day. And I've got to say, right, now Jordan don't believe me on this, but as God is my witness, I'm certain that day I pulled out of a carp down the edge, which was £30.
He definitely didn't pull out a carp that was £30 on the edge.
You've no idea, you didn't see the carp.
It was about £10 over.
It was a lot.
I saw it jump.
You didn't see it jump. You
I saw it leap out the water.
So what happened was, right, as the fishing uglies are big, I've hooked this carp down the edge. It's gone in front of me. It's come up and I thought, sugar, that's big. I said to Jordan, this ain't going to fit in the net. Lifted up like that. And I wasn't even putting that much pressure on it. It was in the mouth. The hook just pulled out. Anyway, last week or the week before, looking on the results from the Glebe, the guy on the peg next to where I was, or a couple of pegs away, only landed one £30, and it was the same fish. I'm convinced it was a mirror. I'm convinced it was that fish.
The same fish.
So anyway, the upshot of the day was I won my section. But most importantly, I learnt loads about mugging and pellet waggler fishing, and some little tips there that hopefully can help you guys too. So Jord, your first match that you want to talk about?
I'm going to talk about a maiden match this qualifier.
Are you?
I've fished many, but the one I'm going to talk about is one at Hallcroft.
Yes.
I got very close to winning everyone on this one.
You did, didn't you? It's not quite good enough, were you?
Not quite good enough. So, I drew 20 on bridge outer, for those who know it. They just pegged the outer on bridge this day, so everyone had an island shut to the island part of bridge. So, I've set up to fish a feeder across. I've set up to fish mugging in shallow. I've set up a meat short line and I've set up a margin line. And that was going to be my day. I felt quite confident. Everyone said Moat would win it. But I actually really fancied my peg that day. I had a lot of room, didn't we? We had a lot of room on bridge.
On bridge, had a load. Moat was quite tightly pegged.
Yeah.
Moat had, where I was, guys, my word.
Very tightly
pegged.
So anyway, I've started off trying to mug some, and to be honest, I didn't. I couldn't actually catch them. But I did loose feed a couple of pellets, like just 3 or 4 pellets, and just slapped a rig on the pole in my pellets. And I caught 7 carp on that in the first hour. So that's ticking along well, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I've then had to change and fish a feeder across. I fished 11'6" Supera rod, really nice. Got a bit of a backbone to cast it over there. It's quite a long way, you know. £8 main line, a £30 method feeder.
30 gram.
30 gram.
£30, that's a big method feeder.
Imagine
chugging that one out. Nearly as big as my carp at the Glebe, that
30 gram method feeder. I like a method feeder. I like a spreader bait over, say, a banjo feeder. And I fished a little piece of corn on the hook, actually, just a piece of corn or a couple of dead maggots. And I just kept catching odd carp and odd skimmer on that all day, to be honest. And with 2 hours to go, they've come in my margins, but could I catch them?
Really?
They were swirling, bow waving out and all this, and I spent too long trying to catch them there, when I should have persevered on the method feeder. And it's actually ended up costing me. Now, I've ended up the match with £183, and Cookie, Steve Cook on the end peg on my leg, had 183, but more ounces to beat me to qualify for the final. Very annoying, but I learnt a few things which were quite good. On the shallow line, the carp, I was feeding 6mm pellets, Coppins pellets from the fishery, and it was actually best to not actually rotate and slap the rig in the feed. They were coming into it, but they were sitting just off the end of a pole. You know, I'd swirl just past the pole, and it was best is to flick it past the pole, and I'd catch them like that. And on the method feeder, the more accurate you could be, the more you'd catch. And for me, I don't do a lot of method feeder fishing, something I need to practice. But the more accurate I was in the middle of the far bank pallet, I'd catch so many more fish so much quicker. So
it's. I just want to touch on this because it's something that really has become apparent to me over these last few qualifiers I've been fishing, and that is the strength in depth that certain anglers have at these commercial fishery skills. Because you qualify for the golden reel margin fishing.
Yeah.
So pretty special what you did that day. You had your own little technique. We covered that in the last blog if you want to have a look back about what you did that day.
Got a video on it.
Yeah, and there's a Preston video, isn't there?
Preston
The Preston
video.
Innovations did.
Margin video.
So you can actually watch that. It's really, really interesting. But, that's one skill set. I talked about our mugging and pellet waggler mugging is a skill set that I wasn't particularly sharp at, and I'm better at now. And as Jordan said, the more you practice it. But, you look at the likes of Jamie Hughes, people like that, Andy Bennett. They're just absolutely awesome. Every single discipline. So that...
I know, they can just do it all.
That day at Hallcroft, for you, it was method feed, it was short pole, it was mugging, it was 3 very different things. And the key to putting a winning weight together was merging the 3, wasn't it, in the right order? Accuracy
is really important, and making sure you can do everything absolutely perfect. For me, at the minute, me throwing my bait, I said this to you yesterday, my throwing of bait's terrible. We've got a pole masters, Daiwa pole masters at Tunnel Barn coming up. So I need to get my maggot throwing.
You need to work on your action, pal.
I need to work on my action.
So there we are. Interesting.
That was one of my matches. Very disappointing, but also quite enjoyed my day, to be honest.
Hey, it's nice to give the old uns a chance. Steve Cook's in the final.
Nice to give the old uns a good go, isn't it?
Bless you, love cooking.
Well
right. I'm going to talk about a match win for the second one, which was it was a win that actually meant an awful lot to me because my late boss, the guy who got me going in the trade, really, David Hall, I fished his memorial match at the Glebe a couple of weeks ago. Now, this has turned into a great match. Originally, it was called the DHP Cup, and it was just for sort of people associated with DHP. And I actually won that back in about 2011 with a big weight of carp down the edge of the Glebe. But then when David passed away, DHP actually turned it into his memorial match. So it's an invitation match. There were some brilliant anglers taking part, and it was all about really paying our respects to the memory of David and just having a good day on the bank. But as I said, there was a lot of good anglers there. Nick Speed, Adam Rumble,
Joe Carras,
Robbie Griffiths, Pen Writing. It was a bit of a who's who really of match fishing. Some brilliant anglers there, and I drew a really good peg. I think.
Obviously, he always draws well, everyone.
Stop it, Jordan. I think it was peg 97 from memory.
98, I reckon it was.
Yeah, I'll put the ball on anyway so you can see.
End peg anyway.
It was the end peg on one of these strip lakes, and I got a lovely long margin. A week before, I had my dobbing lesson, or mugging lesson, should I say? Mugging lesson. And there were a few muggers to start with, so I begun mugging. I had a lovely start to the match, mugged 3 in the first sort of half an hour. Got to 5 by the end of the first hour, which was nice, just flicking a rig at them. Not perfect. I did flick at a few tails, Jord. I did. Not gonna lie. But no, it was much better, and I felt that what had happened the week before had helped me really. So I didn't feed anything. I caught some. I was quite happy with the start, and then it's just turned into a lovely match. Really, the muggers have just disappeared. The sort of pressure changed, I think, and it sort of clouded over a bit. And there were no muggers anywhere really after that on the lake. Excuse me. So I got this long margin. Pinged 8mm pellets up there. Sorry, 6mm pellets up there. And went in, and it was just lovely fishing. What I did, which was quite interesting, a lot of people like a bulk and quite a heavy rig for this pinging. But something that Jamie Hughes taught me a couple of years ago was the importance of a light strung rig with that, and that was so much better on the day. Just a little TM float with, Nathan Lum float, I'll put a picture on again. Little strung pattern, flicking it in, holding onto it, and it going under most chucks with small but very angry carp. I got broke a couple of times.
Very angry on those MPEGs, aren't
they? It was ridiculous, George. They weren't big fish. They probably averaged £6, 5 or £6. My word,
put up a scrap.
Yeah, I started on 013 and 13 hollow elastic, Preston hollow elastic, 013 power line, and landed about the first 8.
Did you try 15?
I did step up, pal.
Did you step up?
Only the elastic, no. Oh, no, I wish I had. But I stepped up to 17 hollow, Preston 17 hollow. And that was great. I like that. I just stopped him in the tracks. But even on 017, I still got bust by a couple of angry ones. One of them, I think, I spoke to young Zach Warby, who won the qualifier off there a few weeks before, and he said he had the same problem. It's just how it is. But it was a lovely day. I had £187, managed to win the match, which, as I said, it was a nice one for me to win. I got a lovely trophy. I'll put a picture of that on now for you. Just a great day.
Yeah, lovely.
Nice when you feel you learn something, Jord, and then you can put it into practice as well.
Yeah. Really nice to get on the win.
Yeah, that's it.
Got a nice
What's your
trophy.
second match?
I don't really have a second match, to be honest. I'm going to give you a run through of the festival.
Oh, fantastic.
We won. Well, we won. We didn't win, but we
didn't
gave it a good
win.
go.
We had a good go.
Definitely
In our minds,
win.
we won, didn't we, pal?
In our minds, we are the winners. So on day 1, I drew 4 on willows. It's a 5-day festival at Lindholme, 6-hour matches. That's all there is to talk about, really. On day 1, I'm on 4 on willows. It's like a reedy corner, very snaggy, and the fish like the reeds. So I fished casters shallow into the reeds. Caught an odd one like that, but Jesus, Tom, they must take a run up at the bait. Some of them, the float goes under and straight in the reeds, so that was a bit of a nightmare, losing an odd fish. But we caught some there. We fished worms on the bottom short, caught some there. We fished in the margins in the last 40 minutes, and I caught £118, which is second in the section. Alex Doherty won the section with £120. So good start, really, a second. Only one fish off winning was disappointing. But we move on. Yeah. 7 on willows the next day. Wind in the face today, really strong. I caught again worms on the bottom, worms and casters. I weighed £129 for second. What's really important, I've been fishing worms and casters all week on the bottom, to be honest. And potting in little balls of soil was really, really good, wasn't it? You know, because Lindholme's quite deep. If you just fed the loots worms and casters, you get liners and foul lookers. But putting it in soil, then it went down to the bottom and you didn't foul look any fish, and it were really, really good all week for me. That was a good little tip.
The right soil was important, wasn't it, as well?
Sedge peat, it's called.
Yeah, sedge peat. You can get it online.
And if you made it, you can make it as wet or as firm as you like. And obviously, we wanted it firm, so it went down, and that was really good.
Brilliant.
So I was second in the section there. 1 line all day, to be honest. Short on worms and casters. Day 3, I was on 3 on laurels, or 2. End peg on laurels anyway. Wind blowing in.
Oh,
really
peg
strong.
2, wasn't it, I think?
End peg.
Yeah.
Casters shallow all day. £130 F1s.
That was a section win, wasn't it?
Section win, that one.
So you've got 2 seconds and a win going into day 4.
There's no droppers on this festival as well, which
was terrible for me, but great for others.
We're not going to mention your festival, but so that was 5 points after 3 days. Then the 4th day, I was on 9 on beaches. I caught 4 carp early on hard pellets. Really important on that beaches, I think, to get a volume of pellets in your peg. I think if you just feed a few, the eyes and the tench eat them. So yeah, I fed quite a lot of pellets. I caught 4 good ones early. Spent the middle 3 hours for eyed on worms and casters in soil short. And I looked for carp for the last 2 hours, which was probably an error. Probably should have stayed on the eyed for longer, because I ended up with £95. £49 of that was actually eyed and tench. And £95 got me second. Mickey Rogerson winning my section with 98. So that was
close. You've had a
loss
point. Nearly week, haven't you?
I've had a very nearly 5 section win week.
Yeah. You've been. I think it's all very well with this. You're very quick to blame yourself, as most good anglers are. Stuff £1 here, £2 there. But sometimes when it's that close, it is just a little bit of luck. A little bit of luck, mate.
You need some luck.
Yeah.
And then on the last day, I was on 23 bennies. Absolute flyer, isn't it, normally?
Yeah, but the wind
was very, very windy, very naughty. And I ended up catching £201. It took 3 hours to get a bite shallow, but when they were there, Jesus, were they there. And I caught one every single chuck in, just at 7 metres, as furthest I could fish my casters nicely. And they still went everywhere then, but caught one every single put into weight, £201. Which was 3rd in my section that last day, disappointing. Only 212 won, so it's probably only 3 bennies fish, because they're huge now. So that was quite disappointing. But one thing I learned about this jigger fishing on laurels and bennies is to use a heavy enough jigger so that you're lying straight from your pole tip. If your float's coming in or going to the side, you're not in direct contact with the bait, which is the whole point.
And that's very, very relevant, isn't it? Windome, as we call it.
And on both days, it was really important to not do any of this jigging with the jigger, but just to hold it still and so slow. Every now and again, give it a slow little drop, and the elastic would just pull out. But it was so important to have a straight line for it. So it's a good little
heavy
tip.
jigger, straight line.
Heavy jigger, you need a straight line.
Banded caster.
Yeah. And a banded caster, really good.
It was a great festival, wasn't it? And one of our good friends, Oliver Scotthorne, won it.
I actually ended up on 10 points myself, 4th overall, and Ollie Scotthorne won. What did he have? 8 points.
8 points.
Very nearly weak for me, that.
Yeah. For me, it was all over on day one. We're not going to go into my
We're
week.
not going to go into his week.
Just so you know, it was no droppers. I thought that's brilliant. Brilliant idea when Aaron suggested it. The first night, I was gutted. I do basically a corner of laurels where there was just very little all week caught. I'm stone last in the section. Couldn't do a lot about it. And then I've had the rest of the week was all right. I had 2 section wins in a second and a 4th. So if I'd have had a dropper, I'd have been all right. But hey, I didn't have a dropper. So that was that. 14th in the festival, no cigar.
Never mind. All right, and that's that.
So I hope you've enjoyed that, folks. A few little things we've learnt over the last month or so. Jord. I've actually ordered us a lobster at the local restaurant for lunch.
Oh, fantastic.
Should we go and eat?
Let's tuck in. Goodbye.